Have you ever walked through a place that felt off? A place that should be bustling with life, yet stands eerily empty. A forgotten hallway in a familiar building. A deserted playground at midnight. An airport terminal after the last flight has departed. These are liminal spaces, thresholds, in between places of transition, often unsettling in their emptiness, their silence, their strange familiarity. They are spaces stripped of their intended purpose, leaving behind a void that our minds instinctively try to fill. And sometimes, in that void, something else lingers, something paranormal. Tonight, we delve into 3 disturbing true experiences that bridge the gap between the psychological unease of liminality and the chilling reality of the supernatural. These are stories from individuals who stepped into the void, only to find they were not alone. Prepare yourself, because once you see the world through the lens of a liminal space, you might start noticing them everywhere. And you might start wondering what else is watching from the empty corners. Story 1. The Infinite Corporate Labyrinth, the Night Guard's Shift. Our first account comes from Michael, a night security guard for a massive multi-story corporate building in downtown Chicago. His job was routine. Patrol the endless floors, check locks, monitor cameras, and ensure the cavernous office spaces remained undisturbed until morning. Michael, a practical man, scoffed at ghost stories. The only thing he worried about was boredom. Until one night, the building itself seemed to warp around him. It was 3 a.m. Michael was on the 27th floor, checking a series of conference rooms. He moved from room 27A to 27B, then to 27C, a familiar sequence. He locked 27C, then turned to head back to the elevator. That's when he saw it. Directly opposite 27C was another door, labeled 27D. Michael stopped dead. There was no 27D on this floor. He had patrolled this building for 2 years. He knew every floor plan by heart. This hallway was supposed to end at a window overlooking the city. He double-checked his map, then his flashlight beam swept across the wall. The door was undeniably there, newly painted, its brass plaque gleaming under the fluorescent lights. His heart pounding, Michael tried the handle. It was unlocked. Pushing it open, he peered into a long, dark corridor, identical to the one he'd just come from, stretching into absolute blackness. He called out, "Hello? Anyone here?" Only his voice echoed back, unnervingly hollow. Fear, cold and sharp, began to creep in. He backed out, pulling the door shut, and tried to rationalize it. A new wing? Unannounced construction? But there was no sign, no dust, no tools. He hurried to the elevator bank, pressing the down button, desperate to leave the floor. The elevator arrived. He stepped in, relief washing over him, and pressed the button for the main lobby. The elevator began its descent, but instead of the usual smooth motion, it felt odd, like it was floating. The digital display, instead of counting down from 27, simply flashed, waiting. Then, a strange thing happened. The display changed. It now read, Floor 28. Michael froze. There were only 27 floors in this building. He hammered the emergency stop button, but nothing happened. The elevator continued its silent, impossible ascent. When the doors finally pinged open, Michael found himself in a reception area he'd never seen before. It was an exact replica of the lobby on the first floor, but utterly deserted. The lights were on, but flickering erratically. Papers lay scattered on desks, dried-up plants withered in pots, and a fine layer of dust covered everything. A strange, metallic smell hung in the air. This was a lobby out of time, a ghost of the building's past, or perhaps its impossible future. He was in a liminal space manifest, a corporate labyrinth designed by forgotten anxieties. Michael tried to call his supervisor. No signal. He tried his walkie-talkie. Only static. He stumbled towards what looked like an exit, pushing open a door. It led to another, identical hallway, stretching endlessly, with flickering lights that cast long, dancing shadows. He tried another door and another, each one open to an identical, deserted corporate space. Cubicles, conference rooms, break rooms, all empty, all slightly dusty, all infused with a chilling silence that swallowed sound. The air grew colder. He started to hear faint whispers, just at the edge of his hearing, like conversations from a distant, forgotten past. Panic set in. He was lost, in his own building. He ran, desperate to find an exit, any sign of familiarity. He eventually found a stairwell. He plunged down, counting the floors 27, 26, 25. Then, impossibly, 28, 29, 30. He was going up by going down. He kept running, his lungs burning, the whispers growing louder, morphing into distorted laughter and screams. He glimpsed movement in the periphery, shadowy figures darting between cubicles, just out of sight. He felt a cold breath on his neck, heard a heavy sigh right behind him. He wasn't alone in this impossible space. He collapsed, sobbing, in what felt like the 50th identical empty office. He closed his eyes, begging for it to end. When he finally dared to open them, he was back in the 27th floor hallway. The door to 27D was gone. The hallway ended at the window, just as it always had. His walkie-talkie buzzed. "Michael? You there? You're late for your rounds." His supervisor's voice. Normal. Michael finished his shift in a daze. He never spoke of what happened, but he never worked another night shift in that building. He still sees glimpses of 27D in the corner of his eye, hears echoes of the phantom laughter, and feels a profound dread in any empty corridor. He learned that some liminal spaces aren't just empty. They are waiting. And sometimes what they're waiting for is you. Story 2. The Carnival of Lost Souls, the Miller family's adventure. Our second chilling experience comes from the Miller family parents David and Sarah, and their 2 children, 10-year-old Emily and 7-year-old Josh. On a road trip through rural Michigan, they stumbled upon something that both fascinated and repulsed them. An abandoned amusement park, decaying slowly under the summer sun. It was a classic liminal space, a place designed for joy and laughter, now utterly devoid of it, left to rot in unsettling silence. Despite Sarah's initial misgivings, David, always seeking adventure, convinced her to explore. "It'll be an experience for the kids," he promised. As they stepped through the broken main gates, the silence was immediate and profound, broken only by the creak of rusty rides swaying in the breeze. Faded murals depicted laughing clowns and soaring roller coasters, now peeling and grotesque. It was an unsettling echo of past happiness. Emily and Josh, initially excited by the novelty, soon grew quiet. Josh pointed to a defunct carousel. "Dad." The horse moved. David dismissed it as the wind. But as they walked deeper, the air grew heavy, colder, even on a summer afternoon. They found an old House of Horrors attraction, its entrance a gaping maw with a faded sign promising thrills and chills. David, ever the thrill-seeker, convinced them to go in. Inside, it was pitch black, save for the narrow beams of their flashlights. Dust motes danced in the light. The silence here was different, oppressive, expectant. Sarah suddenly gasped. In the beam of her flashlight, a mannequin of a grim reaper, leaning against a wall, seemed to have shifted. Its bony finger was now pointing directly at Josh. Then, a low, guttural whisper echoed from deeper within the house, just barely audible. "Get out!" They scrambled out, shaken. As they emerged, the once silent park seemed to awaken. A distant giggle, like a child's, echoed from the area of the derelict swing sets. A ride operator's voice, distorted and garbled, crackled from an invisible loudspeaker. The Ferris wheel, previously swaying gently, began to spin slowly, erratically, its empty gondolas turning with a rhythmic metallic shriek. This wasn't just imagination. The park was alive with a malevolent energy. Then, they heard it clearly, a child sobbing, coming from the old funhouse. Emily, brave until now, froze. "It sounds like a little girl," she whispered. David, against his better judgment, felt a pull towards it. As they cautiously approached the funhouse, the sobbing intensified, morphing into guttural growls and ragged breaths. From inside the distorted mirror maze, a figure emerged. It was small, childlike, but impossibly thin, its limbs too long, its head too large. Its eyes were black, bottomless voids, and its mouth stretched into a silent, impossibly wide grin. It was a carnival ghoul, come to life. The Millers screamed and ran. They didn't stop until they reached their car, scrambling inside, locking the doors. As David sped away, Sarah glanced in the rearview mirror. In the twilight, the creature stood at the park's entrance gates, still smiling, waving slowly, rhythmically, with an impossibly long arm. They never looked back, never spoke of the adventure again, except in hushed, traumatized whispers. The abandoned amusement park, that liminal space of forgotten joy, had become a paranormal crucible, claiming the innocence of their children and imprinting them with a terror they could never erase. They had visited the Carnival of Lost Souls, and some of its residents had followed them home. Story 3. The Ghost Terminal, the Solo Traveler's Layover. Our final account comes from Lena, a seasoned solo traveler who found herself stranded during an unexpected, overnight layover at a major international airport. Her connecting flight had been canceled, and the airport, once a bustling hub of humanity, slowly emptied as the night wore on. By 2 a.m., Lena was virtually alone in a sprawling, eerily silent terminal, the quintessential liminal space, a gateway to countless destinations, now a deserted realm of waiting. The silence was unnerving. The bright, fluorescent lights hummed with an almost painful intensity. Janitors wheeled their carts in the distance, their movements echoing loudly in the cavernous space. Lena tried to sleep on a row of uncomfortable chairs, but a profound sense of isolation kept her awake. She felt a strange pressure in the air, a sense of expectation that never materialized. She decided to walk to stretch her legs. She wandered past closed shops, dark food courts, and deserted gates. As she walked further down a particularly long, empty corridor towards the international departures area, she noticed something peculiar. The gate numbers on the signs began to change. Gate A10, A11, A12, then impossibly A150, A151, A152. She knew this airport well. The A gates didn't go past 30. She stopped, checking her phone for the time. It was 3:17 a.m., but when she looked at the large airport clock ahead, it read 4:45 a.m. A full hour and 28 minutes had seemingly vanished. Her heart pounded. This wasn't just a wrong turn. She had stepped into a temporal anomaly, a liminal shift within the liminal space itself. She was in a ghost terminal. As she looked around, the terminal seemed to subtly morph. The chairs in the waiting areas were older, different styles. The carpet patterns had shifted. The departure boards, instead of showing canceled flights, now displayed strange, unreadable destinations in archaic fonts. A distant, ghostly announcement crackled over the intercom, its words unintelligible, yet filled with a chilling urgency. Lena felt a profound coldness. She heard footsteps behind her, echoing too loudly in the silence. She spun around. Nothing. But the footsteps continued, now coming from ahead, then from the side. It was as if invisible entities were pacing, waiting, moving through the ghost terminal with her. She saw vague, shimmering figures in the reflections of the darkened shop windows, passengers. But their forms were indistinct, their movements jerky and unnatural. They were the lost souls of the terminal, forever in transit, never arriving. She began to run, her own footsteps sounding alien in the vast emptiness. She ran past more gates, more strange, shifting scenes. She saw a brief glimpse of a child's forgotten toy on a seat, then a fully packed but abandoned suitcase. She felt a chilling presence brush past her, a fleeting touch of icy air. She reached what looked like a main concourse, desperate to find an information desk, a human being. Suddenly, all the lights in the terminal flickered and went out, plunging her into near total darkness. A single emergency light flickered on above her, casting long, grotesque shadows. And then, from the absolute blackness of a nearby gate, a voice, ancient and mournful, spoke directly into her ear. "You missed your connection. You'll never leave." Lena screamed. She fell, scrambling backward, desperately trying to get away from the unseen speaker. And as quickly as it had appeared, the voice, the darkness, the ancient terminal, vanished. The normal lights flickered back on. She was back in the original terminal, sitting on the same uncomfortable chairs. Her phone still read 3:17 a.m. The airport clock now showed the correct time. The janitor was still pushing his cart in the distance. Nothing had changed, except her. Lena spent the rest of her layover huddled in a corner, unable to sleep, convinced she had briefly stepped into a realm where time and space bent to the will of forgotten entities. She never looked at an empty airport the same way again. The ghost terminal had shown her that some liminal spaces are not just waiting for traffic. They are waiting for souls. And sometimes, the line between reality and the paranormal is just a canceled flight away. These disturbing true experiences serve as unsettling reminders that the spaces we inhabit are not always as mundane as they seem. Liminal spaces, those in-between thresholds, often become conduits for something ancient, something other, something paranormal. They prey on our innate discomfort with emptiness and our fear of the unknown, transforming ordinary locations into terrifying arenas for the unexplained. So, the next time you find yourself alone in a deserted hallway, a silent waiting room, or a forgotten corner of the night, pause. Listen. Feel the air. Because in those liminal spaces, you might just catch a glimpse of what truly lingers. And once you see it, you can never unsee it.